Well, it's a day after the non-Draymond game, a huge game 3 for the Golden State Warriors, but game 4, another pivotal game, is just around the corner. And I have the San Francisco Chronicle's Golden State Warriors beat reporter C.J. Holmes with me. We're going to break down what's to come and do a little more recapping. All that is next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can follow CJ Holmes. He writes for the San Francisco Chronicle, covering the Golden State Warriors on Twitter at CJ Holmes22. He wants retweets, folks. Those likes are worthless. In fact, before we talk Warriors, man, what's your thoughts? I haven't talked to anyone about this, but I don't know if anyone cares. Do you care about the whole blue check thing just going away? Are you going to pay? What are your thoughts on that, man, with Twitter?
I'm definitely not going to pay.
Same.
I can say that. I'm not paying for Twitter, and I know at the end of the day, I mean, it's just a blue check mark. It doesn't mean much. What I worry about, from an industry standpoint, is a lot of the fake accounts popping up again, making it hard to discern what's real from what's fake. At the end of the day, although many saw the blue check mark as like a badge of honor for practical reasons, it's to do that very thing to discern what information is real, what's information fake. Someone to like pose as you or something like that. So I'm more so worried about that aspect of it all. But at the end of the day, as long as I get my retweets, I'm good.
Yeah, that's all. I feel exactly the same, dude. Like we have enough misinformation going on in this world. Like I teach journalism classes at various colleges and universities, and until now, I've been using Twitter as a resource for people to get information, and it was largely because of those blue checks. You knew who it was on the other side, espousing whatever it was they were posting. And now, you can guess, but there's no 100% certainty. I'm with you, man. That part sucks. Let's talk Warriors. What's up?
I don't think it lasts. I think I don't know. I just think Elon's going to get enough blowback that something's going to change at some point.
Agreed.
But I don't think it lasts.
I'm with you, man. It's not. I don't think it's a smart move. And like him paying for LeBron's blue check mark, that thing was weird. Anyways, dude, let's talk Warriors, man. What was your reaction to Game 3? I thought Steve Kerr made some adjustments that were badly needed. What was your reaction to the Warriors' Game 3 dominance? Which I think that might be the proper word to use. I don't know. You think? Your thoughts?
They mucked up the game. They were. Game 3 felt a lot like an elimination game for them because obviously you go down, 0-3 and pretty much wrap, right? The Warriors did what they had to do. They did what they're supposed to do. Was it pretty? Absolutely not. It's unbelievable to see the amount of points they won by, and then you look at their shooting percentages, and it's just like, how'd you do that? Well, they got it done with defense. Which is crazy to say considering two of their best defenders, weren't in the lineup yesterday. Draymond Green was suspended. Gary Payton II ruled out before tip-off because of general illness. But they buckled down. They protected the paint. Kevon Moody, fantastic on the boards, 20 rebounds. He dropped 420 on 420, so that was pretty cool. But they did a good job protecting the paint. And I will say this, it was after the game yesterday, I think Anthony Slater asked Steve a question about, the Warriors 3-point shooting defense. And Steve says, I don't want to sit here and act like we forced them to take, a whole bunch of contested shots because they didn't. De'Aaron Fox in particular missed a handful of wide open threes that, if those drop, it's a different game.
Right.
As much as I want to give credit to the Warriors, they do deserve credit for their defensive performance. I also think it was just a rough offensive night for the Kings, but the Warriors needed that win. They absolutely had to have it. They mucked the game up and found a way to get it done. But again, I think my biggest takeaway is that, despite let's call it what it is, an average offensive night, they still won by, double figures, and it felt convincing. And
Yeah.
that's a good momentum. That's good momentum for them heading into Game 4. Like what Steph said, it's about the carryover. We'll see if they can get it done on Sunday.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad you brought that up, the shooting of the Kings, because some people are citing that as a primary reason why their offense was held below 100 points, and rightfully so, man. You look at the numbers; the Kings shot just 23.4% from 3-point range. They only shot 30% from the field. That was particularly alarming. The De'Aaron Fox thing. I mean, he didn't shoot horribly. I'm looking at the box score right now. He was 3 for 9 from three. And what you see, and let me know if you disagree with this. I don't know, but over like a 7-game series, you kind of start seeing these numbers averaging out to where they should go. And what I mean by that is De'Aaron Fox was not a great 3-point shooter during the regular season. And in fact, until this year, he wasn't really known as being like a lights out shooter. He's always been known as being a fantastic ball handler, penetrator, amazing handler, amazing passer. But him being like a lights out shooter was not necessarily something he was known for. This season, he finished shooting just 32.4% from beyond the arc. That's like a Jordan Poole type number. So do you think his shooting going down a little bit in Game 3 is more realistic, or do you actually think what we saw in Games 1 and 2, where he was just lighting it up from beyond the arc, is that the real De'Aaron Fox? What do you think?
I mean, a little bit of both, right? When guys are you see the Warriors. Granted, the Warriors didn't light it up yesterday. I expect them to shoot much better in Game 4, but the Kings were playing, in front of their home crowd with that home energy, right?
Yeah.
Guys are going to make shots. Like Sacramento players, they know those rims and golden ones, and they're like the back of their head. So of course there'll be an extra level of comfort when playing there. It's a different story on the road. The crowd is hostile, and they're not, and they got all their focus on you. And I think the Warriors just did a really good job of making De'Aaron work for his buckets. I think he still finished with 20 plus points, but it was a tough 20, right? It wasn't. Yeah. They kept him in check. De'Aaron Fox is a fantastic basketball player. He's going to get his numbers.
Yeah.
These all-stars, these superstars around the NBA, they're going to get their numbers. But, the true hallmark of how well you play them is their efficiency. He wasn't that efficient last night, and that's because the Warriors, hounded him. Again, without Draymond Green, without Gary Payton II, they did a good job sticking with him. Every bucket he did have, it was tough. He got tough buckets. And, when you can contain a guy like that, maybe it contains the wrong word, but when you can slow a guy down as good as De'Aaron Fox like that, you're doing something great defensively.
Absolutely, man. The Warriors, as you mentioned, as everyone knows, they didn't have Draymond Green and they didn't have Gary Payton II. Actually, real quick, I want to ask you about that because you're about as insider as they get. Do you think Gary Payton II was held out more so because of how he was feeling? Was it that bad that he was sick, or do you think it was more so like a contagion strategy where they didn't want him infecting everyone else? Maybe both. I don't know. Do you know any information about Gary Payton II and how he's doing and that whole status?
Well, the team is citing general illness, so I don't think it's like a COVID situation or anything like that. And the magnitude of that Game 3, if he was healthy enough to play, I have full confidence that he would have been on the court. Whatever bug he came down with kept him out of practice on Wednesday. So it has to be something significant. I think his locker was untouched yesterday, so I don't even think he was in the building. I may be wrong because I've been asking different reporters. Has anyone seen Ty Jerome lately? And apparently he's been around. But so I've been a little spacey. So for everyone who's watching live, if Gary Payton II was indeed on the bench, then I'm sorry, but I don't think he was. So I think it's just a matter of hey, not feeling well, stay home. What kind of deal, right?
Well, yeah, it just seemed weird, like you said. I feel like he's the type of player who has a high threshold for pain. I mean, we saw him come back in a matter of weeks from a broken hand, wrist, whatever that injury was last year in the postseason. He came back fast. I mean, it just seemed weird that he missed the game for illness. I don't know, that it stuck out to me. But
look, broken wrist stuff he knows. You feel me?
Exactly.
Have you ever tried to sleep? You ever tried to sleep with a stuff he knows, let alone hoop? Come on, man.
Or cough, dude. Especially if you get a cough. It's the worst. I'm such a baby when it comes to getting sick, dude. I hate it. I hate it, man.
That's one way to slow down De'Aaron Fox. Right?
Get Garrett G2 out there, just coughing on those folks. One thing I noticed. In fact, I'm going to ask you this question and then answer when we come back. So I give some love to a sponsor here. We're almost at the 10-minute mark. But when we come back, I noticed some adjustments from Steve Kerr. And I'm curious to know if you notice the same thing. And more specifically, besides just the adjustments in terms of players, because Draymond and Gary Payton II were out, we also saw a very fascinating adjustment in terms of Stephen Curry's minutes. That changed. He was out at the 6-minute mark of the first quarter. I don't know when I've ever seen that. That was new. So when we come back, I'd love to ask you, CJ, about those two things specifically. After I give some love to Nissan and more specifically the Nissan Aria. Dude, CJ, my boy, you have had car problems yourself. I hope you're doing okay with that. Every time I do this Nissan Aria read and I'm talking about electric cars, I mean, all the money I spend on gas, dude, I got to go electric soon. Are your car problems resolved, by the way? Like, we don't have to go into details for that, but you've been dealing with some crap. Is everything cool now? Are you good?
I'll say this. I got a rental car sitting outside my apartment right now with the windows rolled down and the trunk open through the back seat. So if you still want to break something in or whatever. But I'm
my
good.
God. Yeah, I don't want to go into specifics, but
Part of me feels a little weak, like, putting it out on social media and stuff like that. But I just want to bring awareness to the issue through my own misfortune.
It's not weak, dude. That is not normal, man. I feel like you're being integrated into the San Francisco and the Bay Area. If you've had your car broken into once, especially like shattered glass where they take nothing, that's the most annoying thing, dude. That's just pure haterade right there, dude. It's just like someone smashing your window just because they're pissed about themselves and what's going on in their life. I once had I lived in San Francisco for 12 years. 10 of those 12 years were in the same location on the corner of Broadway and Taylor. I loved it. That was my home. And then one day I woke up, my 4Runner was gone, just gone, poof. Like someone just took my whole car, dude. And 10 days later, though, SFPD came back, man, and saved the day. Anyways, I don't know why I'm sharing all this personal stuff. We're talking about the Nissan Aria. But look, I mean, the Nissan Aria is a fantastic ride. And their most electric player of the week for this week is got to be Stephen Curry, especially after that performance last night. He shot 50% from three. I believe scored 36 points in the game to lead all scorers. So Stephen Curry, you are the Nissan most electric player of the week because you're electric and brilliantly fierce and stunningly powerful. Bravo to Stephen Curry. And the 2023 Nissan Aria packs pin you to your seat power and premium intelligence all in one electric vehicle, the all-new all-electric 2023 Nissan Aria, the electric vehicle for people who love to drive. Shop now at nissanusa.com.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Every dayers, the next show will be Sunday post-game following Game 4. Make sure to catch us live as we always do. And I'd have CJ on for those post-game shows, but you're at the arena doing your own work for the San Francisco Chronicle, which is what CJ Holmes, my guest today, does. He's the beat reporter covering the Golden State Warriors. You could follow him on Twitter at CJ Holmes22, right? CJ Holmes22. Yeah, that sounded weird for some reason. CJ, what did you see in terms of adjustments, man? Steve Kerr made them for the first time in this series. It looked like he wasn't being outcoached by Mike Brown, in my humble opinion. Your thoughts on the adjustments, and what did you notice particularly, if anything?
One of the biggest adjustments, I'm sorry, guys. One of the biggest adjustments I'd say in the game yesterday was more so from a personnel standpoint. With Gary Payton II out and Draymond Green suspended, one would think logically in terms of like the pecking order that Jonathan Kuminga would, be in line for a bigger role. I mean, there were some of us who thought that, the Warriors would opt to start him instead of Jordan Poole. And I don't have a problem with the Jordan Poole starting thing. That's a guy he's that's the way, you're back at home. You're trying to find a way to get him going. He plays well at home, go small, spread him out, devastate him with a 3-guard lineup. I see the thinking on that. But a lot of people expected Jonathan, with his size and athleticism to step up and play big minutes. And I don't think we saw Kuminga even until the second quarter.
Correct.
And then we really didn't see him again until garbage time. And Jonathan always dominates in garbage time.
Well, we saw him early in the fourth. He did play some significant minutes, but
but
you're right.
Point, you know what I'm saying? At that point, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
I do.
The biggest surprise was Moses Moody. And this is a guy who it's been so hard for him to get off the bench throughout the regular season. Everyone calls him stay ready, and that's what he does. Kerrs always tell him to stay patient. Moody stays patient with himself. And it's just like every time you give that guy extended minutes, it's instant production.
Same with Kuminga, I think. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Yeah,
because Kerr wanted more like floor spacing, in the series. So Moody was the guy. He was efficient. You saw a little bit of his entire like bag, right? And he knocked down some threes. He was like cutting to the rim. And he played very solid defense. And like, it's just such a feel-good moment, for a guy that's had to wait his turn probably more so than anyone else on that roster.
Totally.
So shout out to Moses Moody. Young players out there, when you talk about taking advantage of your opportunity, that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. And, what's going to be interesting to see is if, when these guys are back, when Draymond's back, when Gary's back, has Moses carved out a permanent spot in this rotation based on his last two performances? I mean, I think it's hard to keep him off the floor. I'm sorry.
Agreed. Agreed. 100% agree, man. In fact, I play the soundbite all the time, every time, because Moses Moody once addressed the whole stay ready thing, and his response was this classic.
I mean, it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. so kudos, man. He got minutes, and you're right, dude. The Kuminga thing's weird because Draymond missed 9 games this year, and Kuminga started 8 of those 9 games. So I was expecting the same thing, but a win's a win, man. It's hard to complain at that point. What about Steph's minutes? Did you see anything? I mean, obviously it was unusual that he came out at the 6-minute mark. I didn't get a chance to watch any of the post-game pressers, really, so I don't know if how much Kerr addressed in that regard. Like, was that mostly a move to match De'Aaron Fox's minutes? Was that a move more so to have him play longer minutes at the end of the second and fourth quarters? What did you see with that adjustment with Steph's minutes?
I'm not going to sit here and act like I know. It's funny because it's funny.
You played. You could speculate.
Yeah, I think it had more so to do with it being available because we talk about how the Warriors have struggled to finish off halves and finish off games, and so far in the series. So I think part of the move more so was to, like you said, to have Curry on the floor in those clutch moments. But it's funny because after the game yesterday, Anthony Slater from The Athletic, he's always asking Curry questions about his minutes allocation, and Curry's like, we just trying to keep y'all guessing. And maybe it had something to do with more gamesmanship too, from that standpoint. Let's keep the Kings guessing. Let's switch up when we utilize Curry and try to throw him off balance in that way. I guess those are some of my guesses, and it'd be interesting to see if that's something that's going to remain consistent going forward. If we're going to see, Kerr continue to experiment in these playoffs with, when to use Curry, when to sit him.
Right. You're absolutely right, dude. It's and I personally loved it, and I've seen that bit too. How I love that Anthony Slater asked that. It's actually those are really important questions to ask, but it's turned into a bit. Like I've seen those clips where Steph laughs the moment Slater gets the mic to ask a question. It's just comedy. I want to play this soundbite. I just saw this today. And I guess Moses Moody was on the Warriors flagship radio station 95.7 The Game. And he talked about Draymond coming back and what he told, what Draymond told the team when he addressed the whole suspension. So here's Moody answering that question about what Draymond said to the team.
3 yesterday.
Yes. So Draymond came in and gave a pretty inspirational talk, just letting everybody know that we got to step up. We got to take on our role and his role, and then the GP thing was so last minute too. So, but that's what I always say. That's the playoffs. That's what it's all about, and that's why it's so crazy to actually win a championship, because it's not always about who's the best team. It's who's the healthiest team, who's the luckiest team to a certain extent. There's so many factors that go into it.
Moses, you mentioned an inspirational speech from Draymond. What are some of the things he said that really got to you guys?
Yeah, it was really that. He called out guys by name, saying, we're gonna need you to step up this game. We're gonna need more from you than we usually get. We own everybody. So when he gets personal like that in those conversations, and the way that he took over the conversation and addressing the elephant in the room, that he got suspended and he won't be playing and all, and it's still a must-win game, and nobody cares why we lost. If we lost, it's all about winning. So that was the main gist of it.
You're around this team every day, man. You interact with Draymond. It's no secret he is the vocal leader of this team. Some say he's the heart and soul of this team. I know Steph is he's El Capitan, but what are your thoughts on what Moody said, man? Like in your opinion, and maybe add on to that about you've been at these arenas, dude. I mean, these are some crazy environments. What was your reaction to the suspension and what Moody just said right there?
Well, in terms of suspension, it's a weird decision by the league. It's a weird. It was just a weird decision by the league. It didn't seem fair or consistent, considering you got Joel Embiid out here kicking people in the nuts and whatnot, and no suspension there. So yeah, it really just kind of felt like a hit on Draymond. Specifically calling him out. The league calling him out. But in terms of what Moody said, I mean that's Draymond Green, right? That's Draymond Green. Like everyone wants to look at the on-court antics, the stomps, the incident with who was it? Was it LeBron? Who was it back in the
Yep.
Yeah, and all that. But at the end of the day, like you said, the Warriors don't win these championships without Draymond Green. He's the heart and soul of this team, and say what you want about his on the court conduct. That's the same edginess that makes him who he is, right?
Yep.
And when you remove all that, you still have like a ferocious leader of men, right? Who can galvanize groups and lead people to the promised land. That's just what he does. So you kind of got to take the good and the bad with Draymond, but
Agreed. No,
I can
totally
only speak on it so much because I don't know him too personally, but from all of my interaction with him, he seems like a great guy.
Yeah, exactly. I have the exact same opinion of him. Yeah, he's a solid dude, I think. I don't know.
So it's just like, it was kind of strange for the league to make an example out of him like that, but hopefully some type of precedent is set going forward. Because if not, you're going to be looking back on that decision, and it really kind of just felt like we're going to get Draymond, we're going to get him this time, right? So that's what I got to say, and obviously his team responded. So.
No, I'm with you. And folks, that's an impartial opinion right there, CJ. You're from what, DC, right? You went to Auburn. Am I accurate on that?
Yeah.
So you're not a Warriors fan. Like, so you're just spitting like an unbiased take right there. And I wholeheartedly agree with you. When we come back, let's preview game 4, man. Let's talk about what we both think is going to come in another, in my opinion, a must-win game for the Golden State Warriors. First, I want to give some love to an app that's a sponsor of our program, Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. You're basically taking on the role of Bob Myers, folks. You get to run a team, you get to hire the coaches, you get to draft the players, you get to get in arguments with the coaches and the owners and deal with challenging personalities. You got to deal with a proper training of players. It is incredibly realistic. I was in a league with my Locked On hosts. Some of those hosts were taking this way too seriously. I couldn't keep up, but it is incredibly fun. Highly encourage downloading it. And Locked On Warriors listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in the game store. So make sure to check it out. To download the game, just visit probasketballgm.com, scan the code, or look it up on the app stores. That's probasketballgm.com. Ultimate Basketball GM. Start your dynasty today.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Every dayers, tomorrow we won't have a show, but Sunday, immediately after Game 4, we will be live. So make sure to come check us out there. CJ Holmes will be there as well at Chase Center, the Golden State Warriors beat reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle. You can follow CJ on Twitter at CJ Holmes22. Let's get into Game 4, man. Draymond Green is back. Unless you know something different. I don't know if Gary Payne II's playing. That status, I believe, remains up in the air unless you know something else. What are you expecting? I'm guessing Kings shooting maybe a little better. I mean, they did shoot awful in Game 3. Your thoughts, man? What do you picture happening in Game 4?
I expect Game 4 to be a lot closer. I expect both teams to shoot the ball a little better. And overall, I just expect more resistance from Sacramento, right? I think Mike Brown's a very good stabilizer. I think they realized that maybe they're a little rattled in Game 3, but heading into Game 4, they're probably settling in, refocusing, and I expect a hard-fought battle. I expect this to come more down to the wire. Who's going to win it? I don't know, because as much as Golden State knows they can make this a series again with a win, Sacramento knows they can put it away with 2 straight.
Yeah.
So I expect the best from both teams. Looking forward to the Draymond Sabonis matchup. Now that they're going to be reunited in Game 4. When Looney's not on, they'll switch Dre on him, and it should be good basketball. Hopefully, Like I said, like good win for the Warriors. That was not an entertaining game to watch, though.
And the only issue I have with Game 4 is that 12:30 start time. That's just brutal. What time do you have to get there, man? Like 10?
Let's see. If it's
9?
12:30, Kerr probably talk at like 12:30, 11:30.
You're always like one of the first people there. Like you're all
Yeah,
you get there early.
Kerr probably talk at like 11:15, something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, I gotta get there probably like an hour and a half before the games and get my pregame.
At
For
12:30 is
I
rough, dude.
am all for the early tip-offs, though.
Oh, you are?
I
Okay.
like to get it over with and out the way.
Oh,
I wish they played every game at 12:30.
Oh, all right.
But
I respect that.
yeah, 12:30 tip. Maybe I can enjoy a little bit of my Sunday afterwards.
I always notice the Warriors struggling a little bit and being a little more lackadaisical with the 12:30 starts, but the Kings also have to deal with it. So I mean, it is what it is. I'm with you though. I do think it's going to be a little tighter. I'm very curious to see Draymond Green come back and the emotional response from the crowd, because they're going to feed off that. In terms of minute distribution, who's going to lose out, do you think, in Game 4 with Draymond coming back? I mean, some names, obviously, well, not obviously, but I don't think we're going to see Anthony Lamb. I think those 7 minutes are not going to be there. Do you think JaMychal Green is the sacrificial player? Is it going to be Kuminga, Moses Moody? Your thoughts on whose minutes Draymond will take coming back?
I think it's all 4 of those guys. Especially if Gary's back too. I think it's all 4 of those guys. Lamb's probably out of the rotation. Lamb and JaMychal Green are probably out of the rotation altogether, pending foul trouble. Moody's minutes are going to be cut a little bit regardless of what he's earned, and that affects Jonathan Kuminga too, who's barely been on the court this series.
I'm with you, man. One thing I saw in Game 3 that I thought was a huge advantage for the Warriors, and it helped tremendously. I'll have to mute 1 second, or all you can hear it. Bubba! Bubs! Sorry, I literally barbecued chicken an hour ago, and I'm for my dog. I cook him organic barbecue chicken for him, and it's sitting there on the counter, and I hear him just trying to jump up to this bulldog. Sorry about that. I thought the live crowd would love that. So one thing I saw, though, in Game 3 that was very different was a bigger, more athletic team. And so even though Draymond and Gary Payton II are 2 of their best defenders, they're not like large people, relatively speaking, by their position. Like Draymond is 6'5", 6'6" with shoes. Gary Payton II is 6'3". And what you saw them replace with was Jonathan Kuminga at 6'8", JaMychal Green at 6'9", Moses Moody 6'5", 6'6" with a 7'1" wingspan. So what we got in the substitution is a bigger, longer, more athletic team. And I've been clamoring for this, man. I mean, the Warriors have the personnel, but Steve Kerr has his favorites. Do you agree with that sentiment? Your thoughts on what I just said?
No comment.
Okay. That sounds good. Sounds good.
I think any coach plays the guys that he believes that he can that can help the team win.
Yeah.
Kerr obviously leans more towards veterans than he does his younger players. I think that means he hates his younger players. He loves Moses Moody. He loves Kuminga. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
Kerr values experience, and that's okay. If you don't like it, ask for a trade.
Fair, but under that logic, how does JaMychal Green fit into that? Because he's a veteran. Is it because he hasn't been on the team enough? I want him to get a run. What do you think about that? Did you see that argument, by the way, too, with Kenny Atkinson? Do you have? So there was and this is where, if you're at the game, you probably missed this, but when JaMychal Green was pulled out of the game the first time, him and Kenny Atkinson got into a spat, a verbal spat. I haven't seen anyone report on this. That's why I just thought of this right now. I was wondering if you had heard anything about that either, but I want JaMychal Green minutes, man, against Alex Len. He can handle Alex Len. I don't know. What do you think, man?
I don't know. It's just always strange when you see a guy, because JaMychal Green was kind of picking up his production towards the end of the regular season. You start to see him carving out a postseason role, and I'm not sure, what decisions go into that. But when you're talking about this series and this front court match, I'm sad to say JaMychal can't have a role later in the series, but you want Moody. You want Draymond, you want Looney, you want those guys on the floor as much as possible, right?
Absolutely.
And often when they stagger minutes, they're going to go small with Andrew, right? So stuff like that, in mind, it's just hard. The rotation's tight as it is, and it's just hard for JaMychal to get on the court. But like Steve always says, just because someone's not playing much this, in one round, one series, one matchup, doesn't mean he can't be a factor in the next.
That is true, dude. And if you follow Warriors basketball and the history of the Steve Kerr era, every round of the playoffs, you're seeing different players getting different minutes, man. You're absolutely right about that. Let's end on a lighter note, dude. I sent you a text message before the post-game press conference because a year ago, the Warriors players and coaches were taking questions from reporters via Zoom. They phased that out. Now only in-person media get to ask those questions. But last year, when I was able to do that, and I'm going to try to make more games next year, man. No lie, dude. My dog is a huge reason why. He's got social anxiety issues. I can't abandon him. And I live like over an hour away from the arena. So like I can't go to a lot of games this year. But last year I got to ask Clay Thompson about Rocco. And from that we learned like who takes care of him, and saw his face light up over that question because it was right at the beginning of the postseason where every question was so nuanced and game specific and serious. And I just came in there and was like, dude, how's Rocco doing, man? I'm a dog lover myself. I got a bulldog myself, and just lit him up. And yesterday, 420 was also Rocco's birthday. Did you get a chance to ask him about Rocco's birthday? Do you know anything about that?
No, Clay wasn't on the podium, and I didn't get a chance
Oh.
to catch him in the locker room. I was ready though.
I imagine you were, man.
Maybe I'll ask him if they put him on the podium tomorrow. Maybe I'll ask him.
Please, dude. People love Rocco, man, and he turned 11, so I'm curious to know. Hopefully, he's still doing okay. And those poor English bulldogs, dude. All dogs, man. Once they get older, it's just you never know. But all right, brother. Anything else you want to promote? I mean, you got your daily work with the San Francisco Chronicle. People can follow you on Instagram as well. Is that CJ Holmes 22 also? Okay, so Instagram and Twitter at CJ Holmes 22. Anything else you want to promote?
No, sir. That's it.
All right, man. Always a pleasure to have you on. Have a great weekend. It's warm, dude. I don't know how it is in.
I'm like roasting in my
same. I'm sweating. It's
300 square foot studio right now. So.
All right, thank you, CJ. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.